I'm Aporva, I'm co-founder at DixonBaxi.
I'm Simon Dixon, I'm also the co-founder of DixonBaxi. And tonight we're going to be chatting about our creative journey. Aporva and I have worked together for about 24 years in different guises. We started DixonBaxi in 2001, 17 years ago. So we're going to talk a little bit about how we work together, how we've built a team, the creative ethos of how we collaborate with our team and also our clients, and a little bit behind the scenes on some of our major projects. We're going to talk about a relationship we've had for about 6 years with Eurosport, how we rebranded them and how we're still, in a sense, developing that brand and moving it forward. And a little bit of, I suppose, the guiding principles, the creativity principles that define what we do as a company.
Hi everyone.
Hello Glug, thanks for having us. Good to see you all, and I am sad about the football, but the music lifted us up. It was awesome. So we're going to give you a little overview of our company. We started in 2001, so it's a long time ago now. But the image is something that both Aporva and I love. It's the film 2001, so coincidentally we started a business in the year of the film that we love the most, so it was a really nice way to start our company. That means our company is 17 years old. There's 32 people currently, so we started with 2 and we've grown to 32 people. About 75% of the work we do is international, and on any given day, about 2 billion people interact with the work that we create. And that's a really profound and important thing for us because we design for real people. Obviously, we love what we do, but we've always been very democratized in the way we work, and we like designing for everybody all over the world. That said, we're based in London, which is our spiritual home, but we see ourselves as citizens of the world, and the reason is our team is from everywhere. So at least half of our team are international, Europe, all over America and South America. I think that diversity and that range of people makes our work stronger, makes it more original potentially, but it makes it more truthful and authentic, and I think that's what we care about when it comes to the work we do.
So we talk about a scale of work that we operate on. So if you imagine 1 is kind of evolution and 10 is revolution, we like seeing ourselves between 5 and 10. So working on things that I guess have a transformation. There's a big change. We like changing things for the better through creativity. That's something that we really think about and believe in. And that's what drives everyone. You know, it's everyone in the organization, you know, feels that. And the thing that's been driving us for the last 17 years has been creatively restless. So we are constantly thinking about what's next. We think it's a good thing. It means that we are never stuck in a rut. You know, we don't see anything as dead ends. We're always trying to reinvent ourselves. In fact, we're going through that phase now and deciding what happens next for the next 24 months and 36 months. Find that super healthy.
So to give you context of how we work, we're going to talk about 10 things we care about that drive what we do. It's not everything, but it's things that reoccur in the way we look at our world creatively. And also we look at one relationship with a single client to give you a context of how we work with our clients. The first of which is fear is good. We like that space, the unknown. So when you come out here and you stand, whether it's presenting to you guys or it's creative white space, we like that moment where you feel you're right on the edge of the precipice and you've got a knot in your stomach. It's really exciting. We try and promote that in terms of how we look at our work. The Harry Potter's me. The wannabe Matrix is Aporva.
It was true.
It's
that
true.
is 1999.
Yeah, 1999. So we've known each other for 24 years. We used to run a much bigger company of 200 people. And after doing that for a while, we thought we'd got to get back to basics. We'd lost connection with design and creativity, so we started DixonBaxi in 2001. And we wrote 2 lists. On the left, the things we won't do. On the right are the things we will do. So we won't believe our own hype, we won't bullshit, we won't cheat, we won't work for agencies, we won't be afraid. But what we will do is try and define our own destiny, be original, be true to ourselves, be independent. Things that we think matter to us. We also do answer the phone in 3 rings. And often it's me who answers.
It was one of the most important mantras.
Yeah, that's when there was phones, of course. People WhatsApp me or something.
So a big part of that journey is this creating with optimism. I think certainly nowadays when everyone sees everything instantly and there's a lot of energy around negativity, trolling things and so on, we always come back to this. The way we like to think about things is how can we add optimism to things? How can we design and create things with that glass half full worldview. And it's really important to us. And I think, certainly in today's world, it's a really important topic.
And the best way of doing that is working with awesome people. And it seems a very trite thing to say, but if you work with people who are not cool or are negative, your work will be shit. So we don't do that. And we also, in terms of how we think about things, we create a space in our studio that's really collaborative. It should be a space that's safe, you can make mistakes, you can try things. But that's the same thing for the client. So when we talk about awesome people, we include our clients in that. That relationship defines how good we are at what we do. So we don't look for brands, we don't look for companies, we look for people. So we could work with Nike, but what if the guy's a dick? It's not, you wouldn't work with them, would you? So we look for people, and not that Nike are dicks, in case anyone from Nike's here. We love Nike. We've worked with them loads. But yeah, it's important. The other thing that drives is we ask the same question over and over and over again, which is why? Why are we doing this? Why does it matter? How will it make a difference? And the way we define that is what's called the DixonBaxi way. And it's not a martial art, it's our creative process. And it's a 6-stage process. Every brand agency, and we are a brand agency, I hate calling ourselves that, but unfortunately there is no other way of putting it. We do work for brands. There's 6 stages. You gather insights, you turn them into a strategy, and you execute that. Lots of different ways of doing it. But what we've got inside that are a set of methods, creative tools to liberate the creativity and liberate the process, to open people's minds, to help our clients see there's another way of doing things. And that relationship is really important to us because we work all over the world with people in all sorts of different types of businesses, under all sorts of different stresses and strains, and they're not used to being creative. So we have to help them do that. And our methods are based on that. Those tools are really, really simple, but they're brilliant at liberating creativity. So, well, I believe they are, obviously. But anyway, that's the principle behind it. And it allows us to do things like rapid prototyping. It allows us to have what-if sessions. It allows us to do creative sprints. So instead of presenting and ta-da to our client, we get them involved, we roll our sleeves up, and we let them be part of the process. We even create pop-up studios in their offices so that they can see the work living and breathing, touch it and smell it and argue about it. And it makes a big difference to the process.
So a big part of that is understanding the audience. We had that crazy figure of 2 billion, which is highly abstract, but we do realize that the work that we're doing reaches a lot of different people. So of course we're working with brands and clients and so on, but ultimately it's the people on the street, everyone here, ourselves included. That's me kind of stalking some kids in New York, or not really. But we do this sometimes. I think it's just an indication. This is a project we did with Samsung last year to just better understand the audience. And what better way of doing than actually going out and meeting them? So in between meetings with some of the senior team, Si and I literally stepped out with a handful of kind of prompt cards and so on. I met a cab driver, met Alex and his friends, met this lady and this security guard who has been a Samsung fan all his life. And they were passionate about the things they believed in. And what was really interesting about that is that we understood a little bit of their lives. And you take this into organizations that look at charts and demographics and everyone's a millennial and how can we get to Gen Zs and so on. And they go, oh my God, they're real. And it changes how they feel and it changes the energy. And we always remind ourselves of this. So, a lot of the times you find us or our team immersed in the real world, trying to figure out what really matters to everyone out there.
And
please.
Yeah,
no, go on.
After you. We obviously rehearse this. You go.
All right. This is an important
Our meetings are much better than this, by the way. These creative workshops definitely flow.
Okay, own an idea. It's kind of obvious in one sense, but it's really hard to find a good idea. And we spend a lot of time thinking about that and what kind of drives a brand or business or a strategy and so on. So as Simon said, we're just going to run through a relationship we had with one of our clients, which is Eurosport. For the last 5 years or so, we've been working with them. And they kind of set up this task, move Eurosport from a trusted brand to a loved brand. So what does that even mean? How do you even do that? And it takes time. It doesn't happen with a new logo. It doesn't happen with some cool graphics. You have to build a strategy. You have to help change the culture. You have to get everyone involved. There are thousands of employees. How do you distill that passion into something that people around the world will believe in? So the first thing was looking at their identity, and Eurosport as an organization were really passionate about the sport, but the way they constructed and shared sport was broken up with a lot of sales messages, i.e. advertising, and they didn't really seem like they cared about the people watching the sport. So our thing was focusing on that. And this quote from Nelson Mandela kind of stood out. Sport has the power to unite people in a way that little else does. And of course, the last couple of weeks has been testament to that. Regardless of winning or losing, I think it does unite a nation, and it's usually powerful. And this thought of we are one was the binding principle that guided everything. So it's not simply the fans, it's not just the players, but it's everyone in the organization. So these things start to stick. And then outwardly, the idea of fueling your passion was a big part of that. How do you get under the skin of the madness and obsession of people who love sport? And how do you point the camera at the fan and not just at the player? So we kind of created a whole series of things. We're not going to go through this in detail now, but it was about capturing the spirit of what we call the peak moments within sport and then amplifying them. And that was shared across all sorts of touch points. And what's amazing about working on brands like this is that you get to think about all of these different things at the same time. So we don't just do a logo and then, well, what does a typeface look like and so on and so forth. We're thinking about this in one go. And it's a really exciting place to be. Do you mind jumping one forward?
Yeah.
Language is usually important to us. So actually, before we started the project, we wrote all this slam poetry, essentially, about what it's like to be an athlete at the back of the peloton or in the ring. And that led to not only a tone of voice, but a look and this idea of peak moments and so on. And then, it plays out. We created this thing called a dashboard, which presents the sport, front and center, but then uses the UI approach across all their platforms to stitch it together. And that's the backbone of the entire brand. And then, things like guidelines and so on are a big part of that. But for us, we make one for every project. This is a 300-page book, and it sits on our shelf as a marker in time that the team can celebrate and be part of.
So once we've got the idea, we think about storytelling and narrative. Because, of course, an idea is only something if you can communicate it. So as we developed the relationship with Eurosport, the next big tentpole thing was they bought the rights to 4 cycles of the Olympics. So we've been charged, if we do a good job, for working on this project for 12 years. So what we had to do, first of all, was think about Eurosport being the home of the Olympics. And what I'm going to do now is just play a video, it's like a pitch film. We weren't really pitching, but it was something to get into the spirit of what the Olympics meant for the athletes and the storytelling. And we presented this to get Eurosport into the zone of what the Olympics means deep down when you're considering being an Olympian. And this is a mood film, so we didn't shoot this, we made this as a way of galvanizing everybody, including ourselves. So this will never be shown, it won't be made into a commercial. It's just part of our creative exercise to get in the zone. And that's what it's about, is Eurosport being the home of the Olympics. Also, we get to work with one of the world's best logos, or icons, which is really amazing. We get to work with an identity that we've helped develop and build as a brand. But we wanted something to stitch it together, so we looked at the idea of the podium, which is the ultimate achievement in the Olympics. And that helped design and drive a language which was rooted in a flexible identity. It could work across lots of different platforms, which is obviously the kind of stresses and strains that are required for a large brand program. And this goes out to 400 or 500 million people across every single device, so it has to work in lots of different ways. and it has to work in the real world. It has to work on marketing and advertising and kind of regular communications as well as digital platforms. But the podium device is very flexible, so it reasserts itself back to the concept, but it's massively flexible when you use it in different countries, different languages, and different, as I say, stresses and strains on a design level. Even allows you to do merchandise, which, you know, when you get to something like the Olympics, is kind of good fun.
Number 8 is make every moment an experience. Oft-used phrase, but we really do believe that when you're doing things on this scale, you really do get a chance to build those experiences out. Off the back of home of the Olympics, the first Olympics was the Winter Games, which was in Pyeongchang, 2018. And what was really interesting about that was creating this new identity for that. So the home of the Olympics is the umbrella brand, and this kind of sits underneath almost as a kind of year-long campaign. So this, for them, was the first digital Olympics. So what does that mean? The Winter Olympics are typically not watched by as many people as the Summer Olympics for various reasons, but it's got some of the most exciting sports. And for Eurosport, they really wanted to double down on AR, VR. They wanted to kind of make it as social as possible. And it was for this idea of the 24/7 fan. So everyone's on their mobiles all the time. So how can I hook into this? How can I actually get into these actually super cool sports? So when we're thinking about the identity, winter sports looks like this. We thought, well, that's a bit boring, but it's going to happen here, which is in South Korea. And look at the color and the vibrancy. So is there something in that? Can we look at the culture of K-pop and start to fuse that and build a new identity, a new way of expressing winter games? So we did this. Which was throw tons of neon ultraviolet paint at athletes to simulate the idea of snow and motion, and then shot it with kind of UV lights and so on to create this almost Tron-esque landscape. And it's just great to kind of be able to come up with stuff like this. And I've got to say, a big part of this is having a brave client. You know, this is seen by 386 million people. And to be able to do this, you have to take them on a journey, and they have to be brave enough to be part of that. So it leads to something like this, where, you know, we're not a big team, as I say, 30 people, but a team focused on this is 6, and then that expands with motion and so on. So we do keep the core team pretty tight. We're building a really cohesive brand that flexes across all of this.
But going back a few stages to when we're in the room doing those creative sessions, and we're doing the futuring sessions and the what-if sessions, it allows the client to see that you could do Winter Olympics differently. It allows the client to see that you could do things visually differently, because often clients are very anxious, very nervous about the delivery of a project. They're nervous about the responsibility of the project. They're nervous about whether or not it'll be any good in the first place. And of course our job is to relax them, to allow them to be more creative. And we find that the more we do that, and the more we build consensus and we curate the creative process for them, the more we can get to spaces which are more original. And the reason is, it's for the end user, not the client. We're designing for regular people. And of course, if you're in Norway, you're a bang up for winter sports. But if you're in Spain, it's a little bit distant to you. So finding ways that you can tell stories, create digital applications, mobile applications, and little pieces of content, and things that are really beautiful moments, that's really important to us. Because the time with the end user, the person who's actually using it, is really precious. You don't get much time with them. So we want to try and make it as beautiful and as amazing and as important to them as possible, but based on their terms, the thing that they love, which in this case is sport.
And a big part of this, so obviously, you know, we're talking about a large brand, but we really care about the details. So we work with Henrik at A2 Type. I don't know if you know him, but super talented guy. And we were able to create a bespoke font for this, which is actually inspired by the Korean script. So fusing that with the Western face creates something really beautiful. And it's great to be able to add craft into these things. So, you know, we talked about that scale from 1 to 10. The 5 to 10 bit allows you or helps us think and challenge ourselves to say, well, how can we bring the things we care about in terms of craft and typography and precision into something that feels really experiential at a large scale? So, global projects don't have to dilute. You can still do the things that you love in that.
Part of it is getting the client to invest in it. Because obviously when a client comes and sees you, they've got a budget and they've got an idea and something they want to achieve. But getting them to invest in the real small details, the things that really matter, the things that are exciting, is actually quite hard work. So we spend a lot of time trying to validate the benefit of the beauty and craft of graphic design, typography, motion graphics, and the things that drive design, because they really matter. Because people don't know you're doing it, but they can feel it. When someone swipes on a mobile phone and it's right, they can feel that. When they see a that font that's really beautifully designed, they can feel it. They might not know why, but they can definitely do that. And we think it's important. So that said, sometimes it's important to say no. So we're a very positive company. We're very driven to try and create hopefully good work for people. But I think sometimes the things you don't do define you more than the things you choose to do. So in our 17-year journey with DixonBaxi, we've made choices, and difficult choices, not pitching on really amazing projects because they felt wrong. We went through a period a few years ago where we let 6 clients go. And we handed them over to friends at other agencies because they were filling space that wasn't making us feel alive as creative people. So we asked them if we could stop working with them. And in that vacuum, we got different work, new work. So we're very fond of being positively charged and excited, but we do also define what we do. So we will refuse to do things on ethical grounds as well, but also on creative grounds. If we don't think we're a good fit, we're super honest about it. We won't try and bullshit our way into a project. We'll just say, you know what, these guys are much better than us at doing that.
So number 10, we do this often, forget what you know and start again. It's really exciting when you do that. We talked about stepping out of our comfort zone. We've kind of have another business, and we touched on right at the beginning when Si and I met, we have this love of film. We've always wanted to kind of create film. We started a graphic novel, we did lots of things. But then about 4 or 5 years ago, we hooked up with another guy called Gareth Evans, and we have another company, DixonBaxi Evans, that's a film production company. And this poster is a film we co-wrote and shot. It was premiered at Tribeca last year. It's called Tiger Raid. It's a psychological thriller set in, we filmed it in Jordan in 20 days with a cast of 3. It's a 3-hander. And it's kind of a complete divergent to what we were just showing you. But if you think about the storytelling that we're doing and kind of following your passions, this is a big passion of ours. So we were able to do a lot of things here, raise the finance, co-write the script, cast, and all of those things to create a film that had a theatrical release. And obviously we get to do the titles, which is a pretty amazing thing in itself. So we had to make a film to do our own titles finally, which is kind of inverse of things.
Well, we had to start our own company to make films in the first place.
Yeah.
But when Aporva and I first met, the first thing we talked about was cinema, film. When we started the business in 2001, you saw the Kubrick reference. So it's something that's been through the spine of our creativity for a long time. This you see here is our next film. We're hopefully shooting it in China next year. That's Chongqing. It's a psychological thriller called Blood Animus Now, not Snowblind. And we're currently raising the funding and getting the actors for that. This is a place I went to in Chongqing, which is a derelict part of the city where they're about to rebuild it, and people are still living there. So whilst we're doing this, we're also experiencing life. We're getting to travel, try new things. And when we work on the film, it's like a sabbatical. You come out, you learn something new, and when you go back into DixonBaxi, you're fully charged up. You see the world differently, and it's a different creative expression. You get to play cards and mahjong with guys like this, which is quite good fun. And of course, you get to make books, So we made a series of books off the back of this. So we traveled to China several times. We've made some books, and they're what we send out with a script. So we use all of our kind of creative muscle to help sell the film, of course. And it's a natural synergy between what we do for our clients, which is connect people to content and brands, for ourselves. And, it's good fun.
What's exciting about that is that the team gets involved. This is in the studio, Si and I sit together, but the whole team is literally like this in this room. So everyone sees everything and it's all very live. So what's great is that, yeah, they're not all facing us. But that would be weird.
It's how we do briefings at work.
It is exciting, and it's great to be able to share that and create a space where, you know, the organisation feels a part of that. Conscious of time.
So this is the mantras, I suppose, that we repeat to ourselves, which is, it's good to be scared, because if you are, you're pushing the envelope and it means you're trying to do something new. If you do it optimistically, you're much more likely to get a better outcome. If you work with awesome people, the same thing applies, because they will lift you up, they will challenge you, and they will make you a better person. If you ask why, you'll be challenging preconceptions and you'll be getting to the root of the idea. If you understand the audience, you'll be designing for real people and not just your ego. If you own an idea, you can get behind something that differentiates and is important and is different. If you tell it as a story, it will connect to people better. If it's a narrative, people will remember it. If you then turn that into an experience, you elevate it. You make it more important, more fun, more engaging. If you say no occasionally, you'll be better defined and stronger as a creative. And if you occasionally forget what you know and start again, you won't be a dick. And then the last piece, we're asked this a lot, but this is the thing that we think about probably the most, which is, if you create work you're proud of, it's the best metric. And if you work the way suits you, it's the best way of living as a creative person. And if you avoid doing things just for money, you will get fucked over. And that's the kind of business model of our company.
Great, thanks everyone. Thanks to big thanks to Glug.